For news, President Buhari promises to tackle insecurity in New Year message. Nigerians share New Year resolutions, express optimism for a better year. And World Bank predicts high inflation rate for Nigeria in 2022. Glad to have you join us in News Now. I am Mary Kanu. President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated his administration's commitment to tackle the issue of insecurity bedeviling the country, saying it is set to deploy multifaceted solutions to address human security at the grassroots. The president made this known in his 2022 New Year message released by the media unit of the State House Abuja during the weekend. In his message, President Buhari explained that his administration has invested heavily in re-equipping the military in line with upgrading the platforms and firepower required, which has yielded obvious results. The president thereafter announced that his administration will be working with international partners and neighboring countries to address human security at the grassroots before it leads to full-blown insecurity. Still on insecurity, security experts have urged the federal government to address the issue of inadequate manpower in the country's national security sector. In an interview on TV360's flagship program, TV360, security expert Hassan Stanlabo said the country's security agents are currently overstretched as a result of inadequate manpower and urged the federal government to intensify recruitment exercise in the sector. Stanlabo added that the federal government should, as a matter of urgency, begin mass recruitment into the security sector to be able to effectively combat insecurity, which is currently bedeviling the country.
Our national security sector suffers a high deficit when it comes to manpower, be it the armed forces, be it the paramilitary, or what have you. As we speak right now, the military or the army, so to speak, is overstretched because they have been pulled out to play the role of the police. In this policing role, they have been so dissipated in such a way that they cannot even meet the required manpower they need in the Northeast. Now the police too on its own, despite the assistance from the army, is still faced with severe challenges. The big question is, Deji, why are we not recruiting? It beats my imagination. I'm not seeing the level of urgency, seriousness, and depth of recruitment does not match the situation on ground. We have not improved beyond the normal situation of recruitment. How much are we paying these boys we are recruiting? Do they earn millions per month? If they were to be earning what your senators earn per month, I would understand what you're saying. These are boys who don't pay more than 50,000 or maybe 60,000 per month. Has 20% not just been increased to police salary? Only a few days back by Mr. President, which brings police salary to what? Barely 45,000 or so. So what are we talking about, Deji? How much are we paying these boys? So I can't understand why we are not recruiting, frankly speaking. And the level of unemployment in the country is so high. I was thinking that given the situation on ground, moving a lot of these young men who are coming out of school into the military and into the police force would have probably reduced our unemployment situation or improved on our unemployment situation on ground.
For many, a new year is usually a time to kick off a fresh start in life. While some advocate the necessity of the tradition, many have abandoned the practice over the years. In this report, our correspondent Mojisola Matami spoke to Lagos residents who share the New Year resolutions and expectations from the government.
It's the first week of the year 2022, and many Nigerians are keeping up with the yearly tradition of reeling out resolutions for the brand new year. Not to be outdone, some Lagos residents who spoke exclusively with TV360 News expressed determination and willpower to keep all promises made for the new year.
I want to go into YouTube in full time. I want to create content on YouTube. So my resolution for this year is that I get enough money so I can get some of those gadgets and would create quality content for YouTube.
I have time management resolution, and I have academic goals. Then I have plans to volunteer more as a medical student and help the society get better. Then I also have writing goals. I hope to write better. I have a blog, so I hope to write better this year.
My aspiration for the year is simple. Phenomenal blessings for the boy child, the mother, the father, that one man will rise us to become someone we'll be proud of as a leader, as a father, as a husband. Someone we can say, indeed, here is a man that we are proud of.
2021, just a year of experience, a lot of experience, and a lot of challenge come up, but at least from the challenge we learn and we move on. My new expectation for year 2022, like to work more and to reach the to set a target and a goals, and to work towards it so that it will be a great year for us.
But not everyone is enthusiastic about the idea. They say keeping a New Year resolution is often a waste of time.
I don't really think there's any expectation as a Nigerian.
I really don't expect much from the Nigerian government because they haven't really been doing much for us since the dawn of time.
Reports on insecurity dominated the most part of 2021. For the new year, Lagos residents urged government to find a lasting solution to the menace.
It hasn't really the best of times for Nigerians as far as security, the economy is concerned. But I believe there's still an opportunity for the present administration to do better in terms of security and in terms of economy.
New Year resolutions may sound cliché, but many Nigerians still make them regardless. Hopes are high that the year 2022 would be better than the previous year amidst developments in major sectors of the economy. Mojisola Matomi, TV360, Lagos.
The remains of Bashir Turfa, the presidential candidate of a National Republican Convention in the June 12, 1993 elections, have been laid to rest in a public cemetery in Kano State. Turfa died in the early hours of Monday at the age of 74. The late Turfa contested against the Social Democratic Party flag bearer MKO Abiola in the annual June 12, 1993 presidential election. Born in June 1947, Turfa was also the chairman of the Kano Elders Forum and a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress (APC). The late Turfa is known to have rejected the declaration of June 12 as Democracy Day. And many who witnessed the dramatic events that thrilled the 1993 elections can recount the chaos that ensued months after. But the late Bashir Turfa remains significant to the nation's democratic history. Now joining me now to discuss this further is journalist and political affairs analyst Charles Ideho. Thank you for joining me on the news. Now, the events that thrilled the 1993 elections remain significant to Nigeria's struggle for democracy. Now, in what ways will you describe the late Turfa's role in the nation's race for sustained democracy?
Well, I think what we are enjoying today, that democracy that we can say we boast of enjoying today, actually was midwife in 1993. In that context, that very, very fair and it's been considered the fairest in the history of Nigeria. I was just finishing a unit at that time when I did deployment in Unilag, so I participated fully, and I also queued up when we had to follow option A4, when people had to queue behind their choice candidates. And we had just two parties at that time because it was the military government of Babangida at that time that decreed these two parties into existence. So you had no option behind, beside these two parties. You were either for SDP or you were for NRC. And Turfa and his running mate, Sylvester Ugo, who is of Igbo extraction, they were the flag bearers of NRC. So I would see Turfa as a part of the history of that's democratic history we are enjoying today. But having said that, it's not been in the news over the years since that June 12 election and all that. It filters into the news and then goes out and all that. Unlike if Abiola had been alive, I'm sure that Abiola would have been in the news almost on a daily basis. Apart from once in a while that you hear his voice and all that, but it wasn't. It doesn't seem as if somebody who who climbed to that level of political history in Nigeria, you expected that he should have been one elder statesman that everybody would be only to as a kingmaker, but he actually wasn't a kingmaker in a manner of speaking.
I'm afraid I'll have to cut you here. Charles, now, before I let you go briefly, the late Turfa is well known to have contested against the Social Democratic Party flag bearer, MKO Abiola, in the annulled June 12 presidential elections. Now, what lessons must be learned from the events of the elections?
Oh, well, the lesson I think one basic lesson we have to learn is that first, when you give people an enduring system, I'm sure they will all fight behind that system. In 1993, we had what they call option A4, which was, of course, very, very transparent. So if we are to learn anything, it has to be that transparency of electoral process. If we're able to bring that back, then so that you know exactly whoever wins at the end of the day will be the popular choice of the people, not when the ballot is being stolen or you go to the collation center, they start writing figures. Right there at the polling unit, you will know the winner. And then from there, you to the collation center, all of that. But so what I'm saying is that the lesson I think we should learn from that is that once you give a people a very transparent system, I'm sure everything will be okay, democratically speaking.
Well, journalist and political affairs analyst Charles Idaho, many thanks for joining us on the news. Now moving on, the year 2021 being the median year between the 2019 general elections and the next round of nationwide polls in 2023 was full of activities that charged the nation's political atmosphere. The defections, leadership tussle, as well as the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, among others, stood out as some of the many events that shaped Nigerian politics in 2021. Well, this next report by our correspondent Abisola Adebayo details the major events that shaped the country's political sphere in 2021 and several efforts by political parties to retain power come 2023.
The year 2021 witnessed a wave of defections, mostly from the opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Several governors like Governor Ben Ayadi of Cross River State, Governor Bello Matawale of Zamfara State announced their defection to the ruling All Progressives Congress. In no time, defection became a stock in trade for lawmakers. The most surprising of all was the defection of Femi Fani-Kayode, an outspoken member of the PDP who left the PDP for the APC. The former Minister of Aviation, who once said he would rather die than join the APC, announced that he was led by God back to the political party he once labeled Al-Majiri People's Congress.
The point is that I felt that this was the appropriate time to do the right thing, to put Nigeria first, and to appreciate the efforts that have been made, particularly in the last couple of years, in terms of security, fighting insurgency, fighting terrorism, and most importantly, is the appreciation of the fact that we must remain one as a nation, build bridges, work together to move the country forward.
While the opposition party was battling with the wave of defection bedeviling its party, a tax war ensued between the Rivers and Lagos state governments against the federal government on who has the right to collect value-added tax. Though it was about finance and economy, it gained political momentum when it again brought to the fore the divide between the North and the South.
We will not look back and we will seal up the premises of such organization. We will do that. And let me tell you, all this bullying, FRS, they should mind the state they are bullying. No. Tell them so. They should be very, very careful. You don't bully states like us. You don't.
Where there exists a dispute between state and the federal government, it is the Supreme Court that should naturally have the jurisdiction to determine the dispute between a state and the federation, and we are taking steps to consider the possibility of instituting an action before the Supreme Court for the purpose of having this matter determined once and for all.
For a while, all appeared normal for the main opposition party until August, when the former national chairman of the party, Uche Secondus, was restrained by the High Court in Rivers State from parading himself as the national chairman. It became so dramatic when another High Court in Kebbi State reinstated Secondus, and another High Court in Rivers State barred him from resuming as the party's national chairman. The crisis ultimately snowballed into Secondus' suspension.
The court has also ordered that from the 23rd of August 2021, Prince Uche Secondus should stop parading himself as the national chairman. The NWC hereby comply fully with the court order. Consequently, the NWC hereby calls for an emergency NEC meeting on Friday the 27th, 10 a.m. prompt, to deliberate on matters affecting the party.
Before the year 2021 came to an end, the country's Green Chambers also slugged it out over the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. After several back and forth, the National Assembly passed the bill approving the electronic transmission of results and direct primary as a mode of selecting party candidates to help improve Nigeria's electoral system ahead of 2023. President Muhammadu Buhari, however, refused to sign the bill into law, saying it will put a financial constraint on the nation's scarce resources. The past year saw an intense political climate, with subtle campaigns for the next presidential race come 2023 taking the front burner of many political discourse. Abisola Adebayo, TV360 News.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, State House visitors to undergo COVID-19 test, says presidency. Details of the story and more right after this break. Glad to have you back. Here's a reminder of our top story tonight. President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated his administration's commitment to tackle the issue of insecurity bedeviling the country, saying it is set to deploy multifaceted solutions to address human security at the grassroots. In his 2022 New Year message, President Buhari explained that his administration has invested heavily in re-equipping the military in line with upgrading the platforms and firepower required, which has yielded obvious results. Well, in case you missed any of this bulletin or for more updates, to log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. Following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic at the presidential villa Abuja, the federal government has put in place fresh conditions and precautionary measures visitors must fulfill before gaining access to the seat of power. Senior Special Assistant to the President and Media and Publicity, Bashir, who made the disclosure, revealed governors and other visitors will henceforth take rapid COVID-19 tests to be allowed into the presidential villa. He further said the new regulation for gaining access into the villa became imperative following the global spike in the virus cases, especially the Omicron variant. The presidential spokesman, however, noted that some exceptions had been made for a few leaders, though such persons are still encouraged to still take the test for safety reasons. Well, we'll take a break here and return with business updates. Stay with us. Welcome back. Up next is Business News with Abisola Adebayo. Over to you, Abisola.
Thank you very much, Mary. Welcome to Business News. 365 days of the year 2021 has come and gone, but the outcome of the government's policies on the economy have either birthed some remarkable successes or what some might call failures. In this report, our correspondent Folashade Ogurinde takes us through the nation's financial year in 2021 and some of the key highlights of the year under review.
Determined to pick up from what was left of the damage COVID-19 had inflicted on the economy, Nigeria, together with 53 other African countries on January 1st, 2021, bore life to the African Continental Free Trade Area. The AfTA was set to deepen economic integration of the continent, as well as rake in a combined gross domestic product of $3.4 trillion.
Under the African Continental Free Trade Area, we can double our African trade by 2030, reduce our reliance on imports, and therefore create more jobs within the continent.
According to the CBN's early year 2021 report, Nigeria's trade deficits widened, external reserves declined, and federally collected revenue collapsed. These set of negative macroeconomic data were outcomes of some of the fundamental challenges faced by the economy in 2021. These setbacks notwithstanding, the country recorded some wins in 2021. For instance, the nation's inflation rate dropped for the 7th consecutive month to 15.4% in October 2021. However, food inflation has been consistently higher than headline inflation as well as core inflation for the most part of the year.
Both core and food inflation have been impacted by a number of factors. The first is the exchange rate depreciation, which you alluded to. The depreciation in the exchange rate has taken a huge toll on prices across practically all product groups. We are now talking about exchange rate of 570, 575. I think that is quite significant. And that is taking a huge toll on prices, both on core inflation and on food inflation.
Beyond maintaining the monetary policy rate at 11.5% for the 18th time, the CBN Monetary Policy Committee, chaired by Godwin Emefiele, made some interesting policies that made national headlines. Aside the ban on deposit money bank from transacting cryptocurrency accounts, as well as banning bureau de change operators from transacting scarce forex, the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, accused Aboki FX, a website that collates the black market exchange rate of Naira, of carrying out illegal activity that undermines the economy.
I asked our colleagues to call the so-called owner of Aboki FX, that we want to engage him to understand his model, his basis, and how he came about advertising those rates. We find him as somebody, a Nigerian, who lives in England and conducts this nefarious and criminal activity on our economy. It is an economic sabotage, and we will pursue him wherever he is.
Despite these moves, the Naira still struggled to appreciate against the dollar. While the fiscal Naira refused to budge from its weak standing, the federal government launched the e-Naira to improve access to finance for individuals and businesses, as well as to improve financial inclusion.
This move was underpinned by the fact that the CBN has been a leading innovator in the form of money they produce and in the payment services they deploy for efficient transactions. They have invested heavily in creating a payment system that is ranked in the top 10 in the world and certainly the best in Africa.
The year 2021 saw a steady increase in the price of cooking gas. While prices differ from state to state, a 6 kg gas cylinder was refueled for as high as 4,500 Naira.
Gas is not a regulated product. But of course, we are also very concerned that prices are rising. And so I'm actually doing something about it. Just in the interest of the ordinary Nigerian, I'm calling some of the suppliers to meet with them to discuss the reason for this hike.
Towards the end of the year, Nigerians heavily criticized government's heavy borrowings, as at September 2021, Nigeria's public debt profile currently stands at over 38 trillion naira. But the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, reassured that government is borrowing responsibly.
The level of borrowing is not unreasonable, it's not high. The problem we have is that of revenue. So what we need to do is to increase our revenues to be able to enhance our debt service obligation capacity. We need to borrow to build out major infrastructure. We just need to make sure that when we borrow, and the president has ensured that we're doing that when we borrow, we're applying the borrowing to specific major infrastructure that will enhance the business environment in this country.
While the year 2021 was characterized by efforts to promote economic recovery, the year 2022 economic landscape might begin with protests against the full deregulation of the oil and gas industry, which consequentially means an increase in the pump price of petrol to over 300 naira per litre. Folashade Ogrinde, TV360 News.
The World Bank has said Nigeria may have one of the highest inflation rates globally in 2022, with increasing prices diminishing the welfare of Nigerian households. The bank disclosed this in the November edition of its Nigeria Development Update. The report added that Nigeria is positioned to also be the 7th highest among sub-Saharan African countries in 2022. According to the Global Financial Institution, high inflation hampers the country's attempt to achieve economic recovery and erodes the purchasing power of most vulnerable households. Well, that's all on business news. Over to Mary for the rest of the news.
Well, thank you for that update, Abisala. And now on the global scene, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has resigned after another day of mass protests rocked the capital, Khartoum. Thousands marched against the recent deal he had done to share power with the army, which staged a coup in October 2021. Protesters called for a return to full civilian rule, but military forces responded with force, leaving 2 people dead. It is another blow to Sudan's fragile attempts at a transition to democratic rule after a popular uprising led to the overthrow of Sudan's long-term president Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Hamdok's resignation now leaves the army in full control. Well, it's time for Entertainment Report.
Nigerian musician Joshua Olonitola, also known as Slim Joe, has died at the age of 30 after a prolonged battle with renal failure. His death was announced on January 1st by his friend and colleague Raymond Baji on Facebook. The singer was reported to have been seeking 15 million naira for urgent medical intervention before he passed on. Slim Joe broke into the music industry after the release of his hit single, Oti Nyanya. He released several singles under his personal imprint, Nyanya Records, and featured major acts like Don Jazzy and Inyanya. A concert organized by Nigerian hip-hop musician Tenny the Entertainer at Buguma, River State was disrupted by gunmen. In a viral video, Tenny is seen on stage performing along with other artists when the shots were fired into the crowd, causing a stampede. Although it is unclear what prompted the shooting, as diverse claims have been making the rounds on social media. Some eyewitnesses claim the shots were fired after a fight broke out between 2 attendees of the show, while other stories say members of rival cults engaged themselves in a shootout, causing pandemonium. Meanwhile, Tenny is yet to confirm or give details about the incident. Former Big Brother Nigeria housemates Toby Bakri and his wife Anu have welcomed their first child, a son, on December 30, 2021. The reality TV star announced the arrival of their bundle of joy to his numerous fans via his Instagram page on Saturday. The reality star tied the knot with Anu, his longtime girlfriend, at a decorated ceremony in August 2021. Congratulations to the new parents. And that is all on the entertainment segment of News Now.
And in sports, Chelsea striker Romelu Lukaku has been linked in a shock move to rivals Tottenham Hotspur to reunite with former Inter Milan boss Antonio Conte. The Belgian is in the midst of a controversy after saying he wanted to return to Italy and did not like Thomas Tuchel's style. The 28-year-old was left out of Chelsea's matchday squad before the 2-2 draw with Liverpool on Sunday. The club said it would look into Lukaku's frustrations at Stamford Bridge and deal with any issues he has internally. Well, that's the size of our bulletin. Thank you for watching. I am Mary Kanu.